Talk about boredom, to talk about ennui, about the fact that a lot of the time pupils are not excited perhaps by some of the things they see in front of them. I'm here to talk about the evil that PowerPoint can do. I'm not talking about the latest high-tech IT. Why PowerPoint? Because it's used a lot in schools. If I had the power to ban one piece of software in schools, it might be PowerPoint, because often it is there as an auto cue for the teacher, for the presenter, and often it's a painful experience. But it is a great way of giving confidence to our colleagues who may be less confident with ICT. And if they can start to use it more effectively, maybe it will have benefits for them and benefits for the learners as well. So, just 5 quick points about how we could use PowerPoint, very, very quickly. So 5 tips. Does it always have to be like this? I think the first point is about emotional and visual impact. There was a bit of emotional impact there already. I think that interface between intellect and emotion is where learning can stick. And if we can do more of that, then the learning will be more effective. So let's have more visual images in PowerPoint is my plea. Let's have some more visual images, that's what I do. So less of this perhaps, you know, sort of lots of writing on the screen, messages that you really want to communicate to pupils. Don't panic, take your coursework seriously. Work with others, you know, it could be like that. That's often what we see, bad colour schemes, lots of work. But it could be things like slow down. I think that makes more of an impact. It could be things like don't panic. Perhaps that is the time to panic. But, you know, think about it in that way, or work together. And making an emotional and an intellectual contact. And it's that interface that will make that learning stick. So maybe that's the first thing. Where can we get some of these images? Well, we could use something like confite.com, and if we were to search for words like emotion, for example, and we were looking for Creative Commons images, then we know that we've got some copyleft images that we could use with confidence in our PowerPoint slides. So confite.com. So my next tip is sometimes you want pupils to look at the screen, and sometimes you want them to look at you. And let's be honest, that's much more exciting to look at than myself. But if you can think about using my second tip, B for black. Now if I hit B for black in the middle of my presentation, in the middle of my talk to my pupils, in the middle of my lesson, then all of a sudden the focus is back on me and not on the screen. So B for black. And if I want to bring it back again, it's B for black. So that's quite a useful one to be able to think about as well. My third tip tonight is use numbers. PowerPoint is great, but there can be a sort of tyranny of linearity. You've got to go through one slide after another, and then you want to go back to your learning objectives and you can't remember what they were, and then you have to exit the program and you go into that sort of slide sort of view, and all of a sudden the pace and the pizzazz of the lesson is gone. But if you know where your numbers are, then maybe you can move between them. So, know your numbers. Let's give an example of that. So I think my objectives were on slide 4. So I type the number 4, and there we are, we're talking about PowerPoint. I want to go back to my slide that I'm on now. So I type, I think it's number 17, and there we are, I can go back to that again now. So know your numbers. We can keep the pace, we can keep the pizzazz, we don't have to exit the presentation, and we can keep things going. Next thing, if we can have an interactive text box in PowerPoint. Really nice way of just capturing responses, being able to record what's going on in the lesson. That's what I typed in the last lesson. I could type something in now, and we could move on, and I can save that. When I save my PowerPoint presentation, it's saved for the next lesson. So I can bring this up, and there's a reminder of what it was that we covered in the last lesson. So maybe that's my fourth tip. And here's my final tip here. If you must use bullets, and you must use builds, then think about them. So don't use full stops, except for the final build. So that typically the last point there, I say, okay class, off you go and do what you wanted to do. Oh, hang on, there was something else. But if I put a little full stop at the end of my last build, I'm the only person to notice that. I know that's my last point. And so that's a visual clue to me as a teacher. That's the last point I want to make. I can now send them off to do what I want them to do with the confidence that I don't have to bring them all back again. Does that make some sense? So, those are my 5 PowerPoint tips. I think I'm within my time. That's it. Thank you very much.